Hello, welcome everybody to Real Talk Live. I'm Ben Ferguson here with John Catadella. We have another very exciting show for you, and I wanted to thank all of you. I know there's some people right now in Los Angeles and Long Beach, and we really appreciate you watching. And I'm going to do everything I can to keep things exciting for you. If you'd like to subscribe to the show on Instagram and YouTube, that would really be helpful. We're going to have some shirts and some giveaways and stuff like that. And by the way, before I forget, I'm going to read this later, but here's our phone number. Write this down if you have it. It's 747-292-0553. And the next upcoming shows, we're going to be giving a lot of stuff away. So I'm going to do it one more time, 747-292-0553. Not this show, but the ones coming up. If you say that, you'll win something. Anyway, today's a great show. I was talking with John, and I wanted to talk about things in my life. I'm not. I think I'm at the beginning of the fourth quarter. I don't count myself as an old man, and I'm not a. I don't know. I'm in a good place right now. And we were talking, and there was three things in my life, three different periods of my life, where somebody tried to do me wrong, so to speak, and you never ever want to regret anything that you've done, and I so far have not regretted anything, but there are a few things. I think it was the way I was brought up. I have two older brothers. My mom always, it's kind of tough to raise three boys, especially with the wild dogs that we were, but we all grew up fine. My brothers, one's a doctor and one's a engineer. But we were pretty wild. And things like when we had one candy bar, or like when we had one candy bar, my mom would say, split it three ways. Here's what she would do. She would say, Blair, you cut it up, and Jason and Ben, you pick. Which, if you didn't want to be the slicer, because you could never win. You always wanted to be the chooser, because you know, it's like cutting a diamond. You get the ruler out. Have you ever done that? Did your parents ever do that? one divides it and the other one's picked, just because that guy's going to make sure that it's absolutely in half. It's absolutely fair. And you're just hoping he slips and cuts it wrong, and then you take the big piece.
No, but it sounds like a good system.
Yeah, it really is a system. I never wanted to be, like I said, the slicer. You always want to be the other guy.
Yeah, you want to be the guy.
Cough right when he slices and hope he doesn't like a slant or something, and then you take it and run. But anyway, let me get into a couple things. So when I sold cars for a while. I think I mentioned this before. I sold cars, and I quickly raised in the ranks. You know, so I had a boss one time that told me, he goes, you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun your buddy. And this holds quite true in the car business. So if you do well, boom, you're going to go straight up very quickly. And I was quickly, they made me a manager, and I started making a lot of money. And I came to a point, I was probably in my late 20s, and I thought, you know, I'm running around trying to get the salesman to do everything, and running around like a sheepdog, trying to get these little bags of money and bring it back to the finance manager. There's three finance managers. So I'm like, that's what I want to be. Mm-hmm. I want to be the guy in the nice office with the suit on that's eating Chinese food all day.
Yeah.
Right? And he doesn't do anything except for sit and wait for us to bring him money.
Doesn't sound too bad, yeah.
No, it was really, it seemed good to me. But at the time, I guess I did really well in my job that I was at. So I walked up to the general manager and I said, listen, my next move is to be in finance. This is what I want to do. And he said, we don't need you in finance. We need you out here. And they put a pencil to me as an employee, and I was worth more to them out front, right? Because I was the sheepdog.
Yeah, they did the math. Yeah, it's easy.
They did the math, and I said, okay, so here's how I did. Whenever I wanted something badly enough, I went for it, you know, and I always got it. So I told him, and you always be very, very polite. And I said, listen, I really appreciate you and everything you've done for me, right? I appreciate working here, and I really want to continue to work here. But my next move is to be in the finance department. And like I said, I'd love to do it here. And if that doesn't work out, then well, you know, we just part as friends, and I'll be the finance manager someplace else. And so then he looked at me like, all right, yeah, I'm not going away, right? So he said, all right, you'll be in finance for 1 month. You'll get nothing but cash deals. Now, for those of you who don't know, and you have to maintain $1,000. You have to maintain $1,000 average. So, if you don't know, cash deals, you're selling warranties and things like that. It's a lot easier when somebody's financing a car to make the payment go up $20 or $30, right? Rather than saying, hey, it's going to be $3,000 more, right? That's a tough deal. But I wanted it so bad, I got in there. I'm being told to put my headphones on. I got in there, and I After the first month, we went to a meeting, and I had an average of $1,400. And he stood me up in front of the other salesman or the other finance managers and said, this guy right here is $400 higher than everybody else, and he only had cash deals. So I wanted it bad.
Yeah, you definitely excelled. Sounds like. Yeah.
So I was on fire, man. I wanted it. I was going to keep it, and I wanted to be the very best. So about 2 months later, the general manager came up to me and he said, I talked to the owner, and this was a really big place. And he said, you're back in sales. And I said, why would he say that? I'm like at 1,600 or something. He goes, no, you're not. You're at 800. And I'm like, no, I'm not at 800.
Someone's mouth's off, yeah.
Yeah, so I went running, and that freaked me out because I'm not going backwards, man. I'm going forward. So I go back to my office, and I look in there, and I notice a bunch of deals that weren't my deals. So somebody else had been putting their bad deals, because everything was average at this place. If you didn't have the average, you're gone.
Right.
So there's these other guys, and I found out there's one older man. He had a family of 3. He put all his bad deals in my numbers.
Ew.
So I was fit to be tied. I walk into his office, and I'm not going to mention his name because everybody knows him. I shut the door, and I said, listen, I know what you're doing. You're putting all this stuff in. I leaned over his desk, and I'm 25, 26, he's 45.
You're upset, sure. Yeah,
oh, my God.
No, I can just picture it, yeah.
But I knew I had one shot at getting this done, and I had needed to get in his face. And I said, "Listen, I'm gonna ruin your life. I'm gonna ruin your world. I'm gonna ruin your family. I'm gonna burn your house down. I swear to God."
You got Tony Soprano on?
I didn't care. I snapped. He's not going to take my future away.
Yeah.
Unless you walk with me right now, and we go into that office, and you sit down and tell the general manager exactly what you did. And honestly, I didn't think he would do that, but apparently, I was a little rough in the speech.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, he got right up. We went in and sat down, and he told the general manager exactly what he did, which I was pretty impressed with. But anyway, I got my job back, and I stayed number one. And I remember when he did that, he thought that I guess I was just gonna
kind of lay down,
brush it off my shoulders, and go back in sales. And so that's it's one of those things in life when something. If you run into a situation like that and somebody does you wrong, man, stand up to them. Yeah, don't let somebody do this, because people are trying to do this. The weak people do that.
Yeah, maybe don't burn their house down. But
I didn't have to burn anybody's house down. But look,
I'm
not saying I would do that, but I wouldn't want to screw with me because I don't know what I would do.
And like I said, you're a 25-year-old kid, and you're just angry, and you're just, hey man, come on.
Well, when you're messing with somebody else's livelihood, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if he's going to say, oh well, or if he's going to burn your house down. You don't know. I don't know what I was going to do. I tell you what, I wasn't going to lay down for this guy. So anyway, I'm
glad no one's house was lost. And
no one's house was lost. I kept my job. I did well, and the owner,
for everybody's sake,
the owner liked the story. So I did well with that place. So anyway, I worked there for a few more years, and I did quite well financially. And I thought, I ran into a guy that I used to work with, and he had a mortgage company here in town. And he goes, Ferguson. I said, I'm doing well here. He goes, this is the next step. You need to come. You need to quit your job. You need to go get your real estate license, right? You take a couple months off, get the license, come work for me.
All right.
He goes, you will make 3 times what you're making now.
Now, this is like, when is this? Like real estate boom time type thing?
This was just 2004.
All right. So, the real estate's good then.
2004, 2005. So I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, I do need to move up. I need more money. I need lots more money.
Yeah, there's a lot of people making money then, too,
right.
Especially in that industry.
Right,
yeah.
And he had his own company. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to quit my job. And I went and I got I know so many people that took their real estate license exam and failed. I knew this one guy that took it 5 times and failed every time. So I thought, I overstudied for it. Well, it's not that hard. The people that were failing, it just either didn't read the book or they're just dumb, because it's really not that hard. It's a multiple choice questions. It's obvious what the answers are.
Yeah,
so
it's
anyway,
either for you or not. Yeah,
it's for the customer, right? What's going to be best for the customer, and then you pick B, and everything's fine. So anyway, I passed the test. A couple months later, I go knocking on his door. I'm like, "Here's my license. I'm ready to work." And I was so excited because I did that. I quit my job. I got my license, and I'm ready for a whole new life. So he goes, hey, come on, I want to introduce you to everybody. So we go around to all the offices. Now, this was a big house. Right, and it was converted into offices. It was a mortgage company, and it's still there up on State Street. So we go into this one guy named Russell. Hey, Russell, and I shook his hand. He had a beautiful office, big desk. Went around, Hugo, hey, nice to meet you, Hugo. A big, huge office. And then we met one other guy, and then I'm like, I'm just so pumped, man. And I said, okay, where's my office? And he goes, okay, well, you don't really have an office right now. You just have a desk. And I'm like, oh, okay. I thought I had an office.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Little speed bump.
Where's my? Yeah, not bad. I'm still pretty. Running still pretty.
Yeah. You're still.
He said, well, there's your desk over there. And I'm like, well, there's not a desk over there. There's a card table next to the bathroom is what it was. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was right next to the bathroom, and it was a card table. And I'm like, that's my desk? And he goes, yeah, well, you just need to stay there for a little while. Just trust me, Ferguson. You're going to do really great. And I'm like, now I'm a little upset, but that's okay. I'm going to go over there and get my laptop open, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to knock this out.
Just like everything else, you're going to work your way to the top. Doesn't matter, right?
That's right. It's like when I was a kid. I taught myself how to ride a bike. I fell down all day long, and the kids across the street were laughing at me. But by the end of the day, I rode that bike around the block. Sure. That's what I'm going to do here. So I'm sitting there, and I'm getting my stuff out, and all of a sudden the door opens, and one of the ladies from the office came out, and it was the bathroom. And the only reason I mentioned that is because she had used...
I think we could use our imagination.
The big bathroom, right?
Sure.
And then somebody else from the office came back in, went in there, and did the same thing. And I'm like, I'll throw up. Nobody likes the smell of poop, right? Nobody. But I really can't handle it. I'll throw up.
Yeah, you're basically the bathroom valet at this point.
And I'm thinking, you know what? I just quit my job. I studied for 2 months. I got my test. I'm sitting here and smelling this at this card table. So I got up and I went to the owner's office. I'm like, this isn't working out for me. And he said, well, let's have you do something else. I have a Casa magazine. It's a real estate magazine here in town. He goes, look, I've highlighted all these agents. And what I want you to do is I want you to call each company, and I want you to get these guys and basically be a headhunter to get them over here to work here. And I'm like, okay, number one, that's not what I went to school for. Number two, I'm sitting here next to the bathroom, so where are they going to sit? We have no more room for anybody. And then finally he said, are you telling me you're not going to do what I'm saying? And I'm like, hey, that's exactly what I'm telling you. So that didn't work out. First day was a rough day.
It's time to go.
So then I'm like, where are my loans? And he said, you need to go get your own loans. You need to go out and find them. And I didn't know any of this.
You're brand new, sure.
I thought I was going to get a big, huge office with a nameplate.
So how long did that last?
Well, so I went out, and about 2 weeks later, I hustled up a few refis. And then I thought, I got to get out of here. I'm not working for this guy. So I did, and I found another job at a real nice office. And I went in and told him, hey, I have to quit because this isn't going to work. So that day was payday, and I got my check, and I noticed, and I didn't have very much money at all back then. And every dollar counted. And I look at my check, and it was $1,000 short, right? And I'm like, it freaked me out because I have every dollar accounted for.
Yeah, worked in months, and I get it.
Yeah, so you borrow here, you gotta the
shuffle.
The plates are spinning, right? You can't let any of them break. So I called him up. Now, remember when I told the other guy that I was gonna? So this guy was a little Italian guy. He was a little mafioso, and he owned the company. I won't say his name, but since then I've made friends. Well, I've been hospitable towards him, and he has with me. But I called him up and I said, hey, this check is $1,000 late. He goes, oh, Ferguson, I just wanted to teach you a lesson. You don't really just walk out on anybody. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not the best person to teach a lesson to, especially right now. And then my voice escalated, and I basically gave him the same speech as I gave the other person, the exact same speech. I'll turn your world. So he was more like me, and he snapped. And I remember I was on the side of the road because I had to pull over because this was going bad fast. Oh, yeah. But I wasn't going to let up. And I go, look.
There's so like two angry bulls just like.
Like that, but
I get it.
I'm going to get my money. And I said.
He's playing telephone tough guy, and you're trying to make a point, and yeah.
Yeah, but he was like, nobody talks to me like that. I'm like, not only am I talking to you, but I absolutely promise you that I'll follow through with everything I just said. So I said, have a check ready for me by 5 o'clock, and I'll come by and get it. And a couple hours later, it was 5 o'clock, and I went in there, and sure enough, there was my check for $1,000. And that I'm proud of. Because I'm sure so many people get ripped off and burned, and they just don't know what to do, and they think they're out of luck. Guys, don't do it. If you just got burned with a paycheck, everybody gets burned. Like in the car business, you get a check, and it's like $3,000 wrong, and
I don't know if all that stuff happens anymore. Labor departments and all that stuff, and hourly,
it happens everywhere.
I'm sure, basically what I call theft still happens. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think if
you're accidental, not so accidental mistake.
If you're running a company and you're not exactly above board, you're probably doing things to where, and you're smart, you're probably doing things to where you just just what you think you can get away with.
Yeah,
you don't want to go too high because that'll be.
I just meant like at the employee level, like just guys stealing from each other type stuff. It's.
Well, he knew that I was leaving.
I get it.
Yeah, and it wasn't cool. But I was proud of myself at the end of the day when I came in. That check was sitting there waiting for me. I'm like, that's good for you, Ben.
Yeah.
So those two things in my life. The big one was the finance when the guy tried to put his bad numbers in my numbers, and I stood up for myself. But here's another situation. Life goes on. Fast forward a few years. Life's good. Money's rolling in. Everything's cool. I decide I want to be. I've always wanted to be on TV, right? I want a talk show. I want a sitcom. I want something.
Yep.
I'm like, I swear to God, this is true. I'm sick one day. I'm home. I'm watching Oprah. Oprah says, if you're not following your passion, you're blowing it. I mean, blowing it. And what's that noise? Anyway, you hear a loud noise?
I think that's just.
Oh, it's a garbage truck.
Yeah,
okay,
that's just
all right. That's here at Ferguson.
Some
Studios.
environmental noise. Yeah.
So check it out. So Oprah says, if you're going to work and you're not doing your passion, you're blowing it. And I thought, all right, I got to do this. I have to do this. So I thought, do I quit my job and go down to LA and stand in line every day with 100 other people and cross my fingers?
Right.
Or why don't I stay here and continue to keep my job, keep making good money, and take my one day off and go down to the local channel and start a show up? So that's what I did. So I started the talk show, and then I started the sitcom.
Now, how many shows total? Because you told me the number recently, and I was even kind of, I thought I knew about all of it, and I know about all of them, but I was even kind of shocked at the number.
Started with the evening show with Ben Ferguson, which
Right.
was a pretty good hit. We had all the local actors who were about ready to be in new plays. They came on the show, and that was fun.
Yeah.
Then there was an actress that was on the show, and I looked at some of her, I always study the actors before they were on the show, and I saw the scene that she was in. I'm like, hey, would it be okay if we did that scene while you were on the show?
Yeah.
And she said, yeah. So when we did that scene on the talk show, I'm like, this is fun. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop the talk show, and I'm going to write a hospital show. I want to be a doctor. Remember
All right.
Trapper John MD?
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
show. I love Trapper, and I wanted to be the doctor. Trapper was a serious doctor, and I'm kind of between Charles Nelson Riley and Trapper, right?
Yeah.
More like a Will Ferrell doctor.
Well, yeah.
Just to answer your question is
Leslie Nielsen and
yeah. Well,
yeah,
a little bit
of everything in
better
there.
bedside manner,
But yeah.
So I had the evening with Ben Ferguson, the evening show with Ben Ferguson. I had Pine Valley Medical. Then I wanted to be a cop, so I was a detective on Precinct.
There you go.
And then I wanted to play a successful actor. So I did My Family with Hazel. Remember the show Hazel? There's an old show back in the '60s, and it was Hazel was a maid for Mr. B, and it was a really good show. So I had two actresses, and all the actresses that I've met from the evening show, I got to come on and be on my sitcoms, and they are really, I got to tell you, Amber Shannon, all of them are really good.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. They're really, really good. And anything you see them in, you can tell they're really putting like 110% into it.
And we were all excited. Nobody was better than the other person, and we just loved it. We did.
Yeah.
You
guys mesh well. You guys gel well.
We ended up renting a house and doing My Family with Hazel. We did that show for a while, and then I wanted to do a game show. I love game shows, so I did Dude, You're Making a Scene. Yeah, that was the last show. And that was fun, but that was a huge production. So then I thought, what's left? Let's do a podcast. But let me get back to the the third person that kind of ran me the wrong way was when I mentioned that we were all equal, right? We were all equal on these shows, and nobody was better than another. So on the Pine Valley Medical episode, I wrote in, time to bring in a new doctor, right? So I wrote in this new holistic doctor that would come in and, it was a funny situation.
All right.
So I met this, she was on one of the earlier evening show episodes, and she came on. I loved her. She was extremely talented. Always got along with her really, really well. She came on the show, brought a little something to the show. She's really good.
Yeah.
And she has a daughter. And she said, do you think there's any way you could write a script for my daughter? And her daughter's like 12. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'll do anything. So I wrote a really cool script where the daughter played the great-granddaughter of the owner of the hospital. So this little spoiled rotten brat would come in and do whatever she wanted. It was a funny episode.
Cool. Yeah. I remember it.
I liked it. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so then one day... she and I were talking, and I don't know who brought it up, but we said, why don't we write an episode together? Because we're both, pretty creative, and we both agreed. So we met off-site, so to speak, and nothing really came. Usually when I write an episode, it just flows out like that. It's pretty cool. I just see it in my head and I write it.
Yeah.
But with her, for some reason, it didn't. So she said, you know what? I went to school, and one of my assignments was to come up with a movie. So you want to write a movie? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to write a movie.
Yeah.
So she said, it's going to be about this. And I'm like, great. So we met every morning for probably 2 weeks at her house at 7:30 in the morning, and we wrote this. Granted, she wrote I wrote all the comedy. I wrote a lot of it, right?
Yeah, I remember talking to you at that time, and you were saying like you were really into a project. You know,
Right.
Hey, sorry I haven't been around. You know, I'm really into something right now. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was the next level of being creative. Is writing, collaborating with somebody else.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really cool.
So when it really was, and she was excited, I was excited. Then after we wrote it, there's another gentleman in town that she and I both knew. In fact, everybody knows, but I'm not going to mention his name. But he's a director. He directed a couple of big soap operas, I mean. And he teaches acting here in town. So we took the script over to him to see what he thought. And anyway, I'm glad we did that because the script said the name of the show, the name of the movie, written by blankety blank and Ben Ferguson. So probably about a month or two later, I called this person up and I said, we've never talked about this, but how, in fact, our director told me early on you need to figure out what kind of credits you're going to get. And I thought, I don't need to worry about it with this person. So she said, you know what? I said, I don't have to be a co-writer. I just want to know what, I think my name should be somewhere. And these are her exact words. And everything I say to you right now on this is exactly the way it happened, right? I have no reason to lie about anything. I know that movie that was never going to make a dime, ever. But she said, you know what? Of course you wrote this with me. Let's wait till tomorrow because I have a mentor in Hollywood that I need to run by and ask him what label you should have because I don't know. But
Right.
You certainly belong on this.
Yeah, and you guys aren't exactly like seasoned. Yeah, so it makes sense. Yeah,
I
let's
didn't
figure
know.
out what's what. Let's
But
call
I'm
somebody
cool.
who knows.
I'm
yeah.
cool. I don't need to have half the. I don't need 50%.
I get it. You just
or
wanted
anything.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
just
was
be acknowledged.
excited.
Yeah.
Right. So the next day, I get a phone call, and she was just a totally different tone in her voice. And she said, because I was playing the lead character in the movie, right? And that was going to be fun too. But she says, I talked to my mentor, and he said that I really need to have full credit for this on my IDBM, whatever the hell that is, page,
IMDb, yeah.
because I've been doing this for a long time now, and I haven't written anything myself, and that I need to take the credit all myself. And I'm like, but that's not what happened. You wrote that with me. And she said, listen, I've been burned before. Everybody in this in Hollywood's been burned somewhere. As far as writing, you're getting burned, and just get it out early. And those are exact words. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And she said, well, just be happy with you got the lead part, and I don't want to hear it again. Don't bring it up anymore. This is what's going to happen. And my exact words were, I don't think I'm the right person for you to do this too. And that was the last thing I said to her. And then a couple days later, I called that director in town that I showed the script to, and he said, and I told him what the situation was, and he said, wait a minute, I saw the script. It had your name and her name on it. I understand, but this is what's going on. This is what greed does to some people. A very, very nice person that I really, really liked. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, the person thought that they could kind of run over me and
Yeah, it sounds like she had a little influence though there too.
little influence.
Yeah, I mean, you said so yourself. You're like, hey, let me call my mentor. My mentor said, you
Well,
know what I
here,
mean?
let me
Like,
tell you the mentor. She needs a new mentor because that mentor.
no, I got it. Yeah, that's not a good move at all, man.
Well, let me tell you what happened. So anyway, after the director said, "Yeah, I that's all BS," because I saw your name was on it.
Sure.
So then I'm like, my grandfather was an extremely intelligent man. He designed locomotives that went in and separated iron from the ore in mining, but he was always in court because somebody was always after him. So I thought, do I want to be 80 years old and just let this person do what she did, or do I want to handle it? I'm like, no, I need to handle things, right? Exactly, Judge
Right.
Judy.
Yeah.
So I went downtown. I went to there's about 3 firms down there, and I got one of the best. And I went in and told them what happened. So they're writing these letters, and I thought the attorney was going to take it and run, but no, you pretty much have to tell them exactly what to do and say. So it's went on for a couple of months, and the attorney kept telling me, well, professionally, we need to give them a couple of weeks because of this. And I'm like, no, we don't.
That stuff just keeps getting dragged on. And
So I said, time's up, right? So they were about to start filming the film. So I said, I want, how many attorneys do you have? And he said, 4. I want all 4 on this letter, and I want your best attorney to write the letter. And I read the letter, and I'm like, it was good. And this was a Wednesday, and I said, we're going to go to trial on Friday if we don't settle this. And they said, Ben, this is going to be $100,000. And I'm like, well, they're not going to go to trial. Number 1, because I'm smart like that. Number 2, if they do, they do. That's what we have to do. But I know they're not.
But you were ready, huh?
I was, because I made up my mind. I was already in the thing for many thousands of dollars, but that didn't matter. What mattered was somebody looking at me going, you know what, we're going to burn you, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't work like that. So that Friday morning at 11:30, my attorney called and said, all right, this is what they offered. And I looked at him like, yeah, that's not going to work. So they have 30 minutes, literally 30 minutes, and tell them they have 30 minutes. Or we're going to trial. And they came back with something that was acceptable.
That was agreeable, yeah.
Yeah, and that was it.
So you think it kind of worked out for everybody, do you think? I mean, obviously the relationship went horrible, but in that case...
I don't know, worked out for me because I just straightened things out. I spent a whole lot of money on just making things the way they should have been to begin with.
Well, I'm proud of you. I mean, you didn't threaten to burn anybody's house down on this one, so... Well,
I'm proud of myself for sticking up for myself.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, regardless of what I said or did, I've always treated people fair. I've always treated them like I wanted to be treated. And I would never burn somebody else. My God, we're doing something creative. This is so much fun. This is what I live for.
Yeah.
And to think that I might be better than somebody else and tell them that no, that you're not going to get credit for it, shame on you. Anyway, I took care of that, and I'm very happy I did that. And I'm saying this because I think it's an interesting story, and do not let anybody walk over you. Do not. Call me. Here's the number. Where's the number? That thing fell down. Read the number. Anyway, I'll read the number later. I got a couple of jackpots over here. Anyway, so stay true to yourself. Don't let anybody screw you around. Thank you all very much for watching. John, any final words?
No, I'm just, that I'm glad it ended the way it did. At the beginning of that story, I was going to ask you if it was worth it, but you answered the question.
Oh, my God, it was worth it. It was worth another $10,000 if I would have had to pay it. Definitely worth it. Stick up for yourself. Thank you all. We'll see you next time.